You're here, but why? Would you like to know? Let me clarify. Christine is my name. I am a 33-year-old woman who works for a manufacturing company as an engineer. My spouse, Logan, and I have been wed for 7 years. We are a childless couple with 2 sources of income. I'd like to have children someday and take maternity leave while still working. But all of that changed suddenly. I got into an accident one day as I was traveling home from work. At the time, Logan was traveling abroad on a lengthy business trip. My parents handled everything, even the admission paperwork, once they hurried to the hospital. They immediately told Logan about the disaster as well. Even still, after hearing the doctor's explanation, I felt it was crucial to speak with Logan directly. I stated to Logan over the phone, "Hey, Logan, I'm sorry to surprise you with this news." "Really?" he asked in an anxious tone. I was surprised. "How are you?" "I can't return right now." "Are you all right?" "I've already informed my company, and I'll return in 5 days. It seems I've been left with paralysis on one side of my body because of the accident," I said, sensing his anxiety over the phone. "What? Is one side of your body paralyzed? Will rehabilitation help?" he inquired in a startled tone. I was honest with him. "No, it seems it won't get better anymore." Logan was quiet for a while. He was clearly having trouble processing what I had just told him. Then I plucked up the strength to share a choice I had made. "Logan," I muttered, "I don't want to cause you any trouble. Attending festivals and engaging in outdoor activities are your pastimes. You will no longer be able to enjoy those things if we remain together. I believe we ought to get a divorce because of this." A long pause ensued. His quiet made sense to me. You would also be perplexed if you learned that a loved one suffered permanent paralysis. Furthermore, anyone would be shocked to receive a surprise divorce request. It took several minutes before Logan finally said anything. "All right, Christine, if you say that. You're obstinate and don't change your views once you've made up your mind." I said, "Yes, thank you for understanding," while attempting to contain my tears. We hung up the phone after Logan consented to the divorce. We shifted to texting after that. I informed him that the next day I would ask my parents to leave the divorce papers in our living room. I added that once I was released from the hospital, we would talk about property distribution and other specifics. Finally, I requested that he refrain from coming to see me at the hospital. It would hurt too much for me to see him. It was one of the most difficult decisions I have ever had to make, even though I initiated the divorce. However, I thought it was best for us both. Logan's speedy consent to the divorce astonished me, but I told myself that I had my life and he had his. There is no time to dwell on the past or feel depressed. I had to concentrate on the next phase of my life. I requested that my parents draft the divorce documents as I had intended. When Logan came back 5 days later, I instructed them to put the paperwork in the living room for him to sign. Logan returned, as anticipated. As agreed upon, he came to our house, signed the documents, and filed them. The day he completed the paperwork, he gave me a quick call. "I just got back from the office," he said. "I see," I replied. "Take care," Logan said. "You too," I replied. "Christine." And just like that, with a short, simple conversation, our 7 years of marriage came to an end. About a week after the divorce was finalized, I found myself waiting in the lobby of the city hall. I wasn't alone for long. Hey, this way, hurry up." I heard a woman's voice calling out excitedly. "Calm down, Madison. We still have plenty of time before they close," said a man beside her. The couple hurried toward the counter, looking cheerful. I stood in front of them, smiling warmly. "Long time no see, Logan, and nice to meet you, Madison," I said politely. Madison, meeting me for the first time, looked at me suspiciously. Who are you? How do you know my name? Are you some kind of stalker?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. Logan, on the other hand, froze. His face turned pale as he stared at me in shock. "Christine, what are you doing here? And why are you standing?" he stammered, his voice trembling with disbelief. His reaction made sense. The last time we spoke, I had told him I was paralyzed on one side of my body. Now I was standing firmly on both feet with no crutches or support. It had only been about a week since we separated, so his confusion was completely understandable. "So surprised to see me standing," I asked calmly. "Of course I'm surprised. You said you were paralyzed and that's why you wanted a divorce," he replied, sounding hurt. I held back my tears and agreed, because I didn't want to make things harder for you. Logan replied, sounding hurt, "I agreed because I didn't want to make things harder for you." I looked at him steadily and said, "Hush your tears, Logan. When I asked for a divorce, you agreed without hesitation. And now, just days later, you're here with Madison and a marriage certificate. Is that what someone heartbroken would do?" Logan's face turned red as he tried to hide the marriage certificate behind his back, but it was too late. I had already seen it. Madison, still confused, asked, "Hey, who is this woman, and why is she talking to you like she knows you so well?" She sounded annoyed, clearly unaware of the situation. The awkward tension hung in the air as I waited for Logan to respond. I decided it was time to explain everything. I turned to Madison and said, "Nice to meet you. I'm Christine, Logan's ex-wife." Madison's face immediately changed, and she snapped, "What? You're that ex-wife?" The one who ignored and looked down on Logan. "He's told me so much about you, how you treated him terribly, and just dumped him out of nowhere. I can't forgive someone like you." It was clear that Logan had been telling her all sorts of things about me while we were still married. Her outburst caught him off guard, and he quickly looked flustered. "Madison, don't say things like that," he stammered before turning to me. "Christine, you need to explain. Why did you say you were paralyzed and now you're standing here perfectly fine?" I took a deep breath and calmly replied, "Actually, I wasn't in a major accident. There was a big accident near me, and it scared me so much that I fell and sprained my ankle. It was such a minor injury that I felt embarrassed about even being in the hospital." Both of them stared at me in shock. Logan's expression quickly changed to anger. "What? So you lied about being paralyzed just to get a divorce? Did you want to leave me that badly? Were you having an affair?" I looked at him directly and said, "Isn't that rich coming from you, Logan? You're here with Madison, getting married just days after our divorce. That's all the proof I need." Logan hardly defended himself. "No, that's not it. I just met Madison a few days ago. It was a fateful encounter, and we felt so connected that we decided to get married without even dating first." His excuse sounded ridiculous, and Madison wasn't about to stay quiet. She glared at him and argued, "How can you say that, Logan? We've been a loving couple for over a year. Even when Christine was causing you so much pain, I was there for you, supporting you. Don't act like what we have is something to hide." Her words left Logan visibly shaken. He put his head in his hands, realizing his excuses weren't holding up. Finally, he admitted, "Yes, I did have an affair with Madison, but that doesn't mean I can forgive you, Christine, for lying to me. Why did you pretend to be paralyzed?" I smiled slightly and replied, "It wasn't a lie exactly. Do you remember the accident I mentioned? When it happened, this prototype I was working on also got damaged." I reached into my bag and pulled out a small mechanical doll. "This is a project I've been working on since I joined my company. It's a robot, and I had just finished its prototype when the accident happened. The doll's left side stopped working. In a way, this doll now has hemiplegia, just like I said, and no amount of rehabilitation can fix it." Both Logan and Madison were speechless as they looked at the broken doll in my hands. "I'll be busy fixing the robot for a while, and I won't be able to join you for the outdoor activities and festivals you love. That's why I said we should break up," I explained calmly. Logan's face turned red with anger. "That's nonsense. I don't believe you. You must have been cheating on me in secret and lied about the accident just to get a divorce. You were probably scared of paying compensation if your affair was exposed. Isn't that right?" I sighed and said, "Yes, I lied about having hemiplegia, but it wasn't to cover up an affair or avoid paying anything. I knew you wouldn't agree to divorce otherwise, so I had to find a way to separate from you." "Why would I refuse a divorce?" he snapped, though his expression told a different story. My words had hit a hidden nerve. His face flushed and he looked defensive, but he wasn't convincing. Without saying another word, I pulled out a folder from my bag. "Take a look at this," I said, holding up several documents. "These are our pay slips since we got married. It's clear from these that you can't afford to live on your own. Someone in your position wouldn't agree to a divorce with someone like me who earns much more without putting up a fight." "Stop it," Logan shouted, trying to grab the documents from my hands. But before he could, Madison leaned in, curiosity getting the better of her. "Wait a minute," Madison said, grabbing one of the papers. Her face twisted in confusion as she read. "What is this, Logan? You always bragged about having a high income and getting big executive bonuses. That's why we had those fancy dates and nice presents. Was all of that a lie? Were you using Christine's money all along?" Logan stammered, "And no, it's not like that. Okay, yes, my salary is low, but together with both of our incomes, it was manageable. Sure, I might have exaggerated a bit, but isn't that normal? Just a little embellishment." Madison interrupted him with a glare. "A little embellishment? You lied to me about everything. You made me believe you were rich, and now I find out you were living off Christine's salary. This is unbelievable. Without money, you're worthless to me." "Let's break up," she said. "Wait, Madison, no." Logan begged, but she turned away from him right in front of me. She dumped him on the spot. Watching him get rejected so miserably calmed me a little, but it wasn't enough. "Well, Logan," I said firmly, "you lied to both of us, so this is your own fault. But don't think your punishment ends here." "What do you mean?" "Christine, I've already been dumped. I'm your ex-husband. Can't you show me a little sympathy?" He whined. Ignoring his complaints, I grabbed Madison, who was trying to storm out, and signaled to the lawyer I had waiting nearby. "Who's that?" Logan sneered. "Oh, I get it. You're having an affair, aren't you?" "No, Logan," I said calmly. "This has nothing to do with an affair. It's just justice catching up with you." "I am Christine's attorney," the lawyer said calmly. "What? Why does a lawyer need to talk to me?" Logan asked, irritated. His tone was sharp, but the lawyer stayed calm and professional. The lawyer explained, "Logan, you had an affair with Madison while you were still married to Christine. Because of this, you are required to pay compensation to Christine." He then turned to Madison, who looked visibly annoyed and confused. "Madison," the lawyer continued, "you knowingly had an affair with a married man. Therefore, you are also required to pay compensation to Christine." Madison's face twisted with anger. "Why? All I did was believe his lies about being wealthy. I was deceived, too. Why should I have to pay anything?" she argued. Logan joined in, his tone defensive. "I didn't really do anything wrong. Why do I have to pay? This is unfair." Both of them tried to avoid responsibility, coming up with excuses for why they shouldn't have to pay. But their arguments didn't stand a chance. They both knew I existed, yet they went ahead with their affair anyway. No matter how much they protested, I was determined to hold them accountable. After more back and forth, Madison reluctantly gave in. She signed the necessary agreements, though she looked like she wanted to scream. Logan, however, continued to resist. Then, out of nowhere, he said something outrageous. "Fine," he said. "I'll pay the compensation. But Christine, let's get remarried." That way you can cover all the living expenses and entertainment costs like before, and I can use my entire salary to pay off the compensation quickly." I blinked, stunned by his absurd suggestion. "Are you seriously suggesting that?" I asked. "Why on earth would I remarry someone who cheated on me and then tried to leave me when he thought I was paralyzed? What's the big deal?" Logan replied almost casually. "I won't cheat anymore, and you're fine now, right? Even if you're busy with work and can't join me for camping or festivals, I won't complain. So let's just get back together. Come on." His reasoning was so ridiculous that I could barely believe my ears. If you had a mechanical body, I thought to myself, I'd want to unscrew your head and replace your brain. But instead of saying that out loud, I replied firmly, "Logan, there is absolutely no way I'm getting back together with you. You cheated, you lied, and you abandoned me when you thought I was at my lowest. Reconciliation is not an option, so don't even think about it." Logan finally seemed to realize that I was serious. With both my parents and his parents aware of the situation and fully supporting me, there was no one left on his side. Still, he wasn't done. "I admit I have to pay compensation," he said with a smirk, "but Christine, you should pay compensation too." Even after everything, he still tried to shift the blame. Typical Logan. I didn't want to keep listening to Logan's nonsense, but I decided to reply anyway. He smirked and said, "You know why? Because you were cheating too, right? You lied about having partial paralysis just to get a divorce. Your lawyer said he wasn't your affair partner, which means you're still seeing someone else. I'll find out who it is and demand compensation from you. Get ready." I sighed, trying to stay calm. "Fine," I said. "If you're so determined, go ahead and investigate as much as you like. You can do it yourself or hire a private detective or an investigation firm. Use your own money and do whatever it takes to satisfy your curiosity." Over the next few weeks, I started noticing strange things. There were times when I felt like I was being followed on my way to work. My parents even mentioned seeing Logan lurking near their house. It was clear he was spying on me, hoping to find evidence of an affair. But since I wasn't cheating, there was nothing for him to find. To my surprise, I later learned that Logan had even skipped work without permission to spy on me. He was so obsessed with proving his baseless accusations that he neglected his job. 3 weeks later, I got a phone call from him. "Christine," he started, his voice shaky, "when are you going to admit to your affair? I've been skipping work without permission, and now my boss says they're going to fire me. Take responsibility and give me some money to live on." I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of his demand. "What are you talking about?" I said. "You chose to skip work and follow me around. That was your decision, not mine. Don't blame me for your actions." I paused before continuing. "So did you find any proof of this so-called affair? If not, I suggest you stop this nonsense. Otherwise, I'll see you for stalking. Madison already paid her compensation, but you're the only one still dragging this out." Of course, Logan had no evidence to back up his claims because I hadn't done anything wrong. Realizing he had no case, he finally gave up and reluctantly agreed to pay the compensation he owed me. After that, he was fired from his job but managed to find another one. Now he pays me compensation from his new salary every month. However, in his rush to find work, he ended up at a terrible company. I've heard that he gets harshly scolded by his bosses and coworkers every day and often works late into the night. One day he called me again, sounding desperate. "Christine, please help me," he begged. But I knew better than to get involved again. "I can't stand this life anymore," he said. "I promise I'll never cheat again. Please remarry me. I want to live a good life with your money, eat the meals you cook, and come home to you." Logan begged over the phone. "My parents treat me coldly now, and I have no one but you." His comments failed to evoke any emotion in me, despite his apparent desperation. I had no feelings left for him. He continued to treat me badly regardless of how much he griped about being alone. As long as he kept sending the monthly compensation payments, that was all I cared about. His personal difficulties were no longer my problem. I ignored his calls and messages completely. At first, he kept attempting to reach me, but soon the messages ceased. Had no further communication with him following a single very substantial payment. Several of my acquaintances engaged in idle speculation on his whereabouts. They said he had been hospitalized because of overwork or that he might be involved in some nefarious enterprise. I didn't know if those stories were accurate, and honestly, I didn't care. Logan was no longer a part of my life. Now I've completely moved on and put all my energies on my career. I'm currently constructing a new version of the mechanical doll, experimenting with numerous ideas and designs. It's exciting and rewarding to be dedicated to something that has so much promise. By this time next year, I'm convinced the mechanical doll will be ready for the market. The notion of seeing my hard work eventually pay off keeps me motivated every day. I wake up looking forward to the future, feeling more focused and determined than ever. Logan is nothing but a distant memory now. My life is about building something significant and attaining my dreams. Each day brings me closer to the day when I can see my work have a meaningful impact. And that's all I need to feel content.
Hi everyone, I'm Barbara, a 28-year-old marketing executive, and what I'm about to share completely changed my life. 3 years ago, I thought I had it all. I had just married Bob Reynolds, a charming corporate lawyer from an elite family. The grand wedding at the Reynolds estate should have been my first warning sign at what I was walking into. At our first family dinner after the honeymoon, my mother-in-law Sandra, the queen of backhanded compliments, made her feelings clear. "Darling, that dress is interesting," she said with a tight smile. "I suppose it's what one would expect from your background." Bob defended me then. "Mother, Barbara's dress is perfectly fine." But that was before she got into his head. Living in Boston's high society felt like navigating a minefield. Sunday dinners became endurance tests, where Sandra orchestrated elaborate gatherings designed to highlight my middle-class roots. "Did you hear about the charity gala?" my sister-in-law Lisa would ask, her tone dripping with condescension. The Petersons were wondering why Barbara wasn't on the planning committee. I was actually running a major campaign at work that week, I'd explain, only for Sandra to chime in. "Of course, dear, work is so important when you're new to our circles." The subtle jabs were relentless. Then there was Uncle Adam and his son Steve, who began appearing more frequently. Steve, unemployed at 30, was a trust fund slacker who slouched in designer clothes. "Barbara, didn't you mention your company was hiring?" Sandra would ask sweetly. "Perhaps you could help Steve. Family should stick together." One evening, I caught Steve scrolling through my phone when I'd left it on the counter. "Just trying to find that restaurant you mentioned," he claimed, but the smug look on his face said otherwise. Meanwhile, Bob grew distant. Late nights at the office became more frequent, and his demeanor changed, especially after family gatherings. "You seem tense lately," I told him one night. "Mother says you've been acting strange. She's worried about us." "Worried about what?" "That I might actually succeed in my career." "Don't start, Barbara. She means well." The final straw came at a family brunch last month. Sandra accidentally spilled wine all over my presentation materials for a crucial Monday meeting. "Oh dear. How clumsy of me," she cooed. But really, who brings work to a family gathering? As I scrambled to salvage my soaked slides, Lisa was busy snapping pictures, likely for their family group chat, the one I was never invited to join. "Better be careful with those documents, Barbara," Steve muttered as he passed by. "You never know what might end up in the wrong hands." I didn't know it then, but they were already setting their trap. Looking back, every smile, every helpful suggestion, and every gathering was part of a calculated plan to undermine me. Things escalated when Sandra began hosting more intimate family events. Steve was suddenly omnipresent, a bad penny that wouldn't go away. "Barbara, be a dear and help Steve with his resume," Sandra said one evening, cornering me in the kitchen. "He's looking to break into marketing." "I really need to focus on my own work," I protested. Family first, darling. That's how we do things here. Reluctantly, I found myself stuck in the study with Steve, while everyone else conveniently disappeared. You're not like what they said you'd be, Steve remarked, leaning in too close as I skimmed his pathetic excuse for a resume. Who said what about me? Oh, just family talk. Mother thinks you're interesting. After that, I started noticing odd things. My laptop would be slightly out of place, files on my desktop were rearranged, and despite changing my passwords, mysterious emails kept appearing in my sent folder. One night, I confronted Bob. Why are you home so late? Work, he said tersely. Not all of us have time to help Steve with his career moves. What's that supposed to mean? Mother showed me the photos of you two in the study. We were working on his resume, your mother insisted. Right, just like you insisted on sending him those flirty emails. My heart sank. What emails? Opening my sent folder, I found dozens of messages to Steve, intimate, suggestive, and completely fabricated. I hadn't written a single one. Someone had access to my accounts, and it didn't take a genius to figure out who was behind it. During a dinner party, I overheard Lisa on the phone. Yes, got more pictures. She's always touching his arm or laughing at his jokes. Bob's starting to notice. My blood ran cold. I wasn't doing any of that. They were twisting everything. One afternoon, I came home early and found Sandra at my laptop. She jumped back, startled. Oh, I was just looking for that cookie recipe you mentioned. That night, I discovered new drafts in my email, love letters to Steve, written in a style disturbingly close to my own. You've been spending a lot of time with cousin Steve, Bob said coldly over dinner. Your mother is forcing these interactions. I protested. Don't blame my mother for your inappropriate behavior, he snapped. That was the breaking point. I began documenting everything, Sandra's unexpected visits, Lisa's phone always poised for incriminating photos, and Steve's increasingly bold comments. We should meet privately, Steve suggested one day, his tone dripping with insinuation. I have some interesting things to show you. Like what? I asked. Emails, photos, things Bob might find enlightening. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just petty toxicity. It was a calculated attack. I installed a hidden camera in my home office. The next time Sandra visited, I caught her on tape installing spyware on my laptop. The final piece of their scheme clicked into place when I overheard Lisa and Steve in the garden. Mom's plan is working perfectly, Steve said smugly. Once Bob sees the love letters, that gold digger is done. What about the photos? Lisa asked. Please, I can make any innocent moment look scandalous with the right crop and caption. I felt sick, but I kept my poker face. They thought they were clever, but they didn't know who they were dealing with. I quietly gathered evidence, biding my time to strike back. The ambush came on a Sunday afternoon. Bob stormed into the dining room and threw a stack of papers onto the table. Want to explain these? He demanded. They were the fake love letters to Steve. Those aren't mine. Someone's setting me up, I said. Really? They're from your email, your laptop, your writing style, Bob countered, his voice icy. Right on cue, Sandra, Lisa, and Steve entered the room, their faces painted with mock concern. We're all here because we care about you both, Sandra said, her voice dripping with insincerity. Tell them the truth, Barbara, Steve added with a smirk. About our special connection. What connection? You mean the one you and your family fabricated? I shot back. Lisa held up her phone. These photos tell a different story. Look how close you're sitting in this one. That's because your mother forced us to work together, I retorted. Steve chimed in. I have texts from you. Very intimate ones. Show me the actual phone they came from, I challenged. Not screenshots. They were deleted for discretion, Steve said smoothly. Bob wouldn't even look at me. Our department confirmed these emails came from your devices, he muttered. It was time to play my hand. Did they check when the spyware was installed? I asked, pulling out my phone. Sandra's face twitched. I hit play on a video of her installing the spyware on my laptop. I was just trying to protect our family, she sputtered. By framing me? Creating fake emails? Making Steve stalk me? Don't be dramatic, Lisa snapped, but the panic in her eyes betrayed her. I wasn't done. And here's another gem, I said, playing my second recording. A smug Steve bragging about their entire setup to one of his friends. "It's all a misunderstanding," Steve stammered. "Like how you misunderstood corporate finance at your father's company," I shot back. His face went pale. During my digging, I'd uncovered some very interesting transactions in their company accounts. "What's she talking about?" Bob finally looked at me. "Nothing," Steve said too quickly. "Go ahead," I said, turning to Bob. "Show them what you found in my accounts, every email, every file. Because I have the forensics report showing when and how they were created. Timestamps matching Sandra's visits to be exact." "You ungrateful little," Sandra started, but I cut her off. "Careful," I warned. "Everything you say is being recorded, just like I've recorded everything for the past month." "You're bluffing," Lisa said, but her hands trembled. "Like you were bluffing about those photos." I smirked. "The ones you admitted to doctoring. And those texts, Sandra." Bob stood, his face conflicted. "Mother, what did you do?" "Only what was necessary," Sandra hissed. "She was never good enough for you." "Good enough?" I laughed. "While you were all busy framing me, I found where the real scandal was. Should I start with the company finances or Lisa's little corporate espionage side hustle?" Their faces crumbled as realization dawned. What they didn't know was that I'd already sent everything to the right people, people who could dismantle their empire with one email. I stood tall. "Let's talk about what happens next." I never went directly to Bob with the full evidence. Instead, I sent it to the board of directors at his firm. Their reaction was swift and devastating. "Breaking news: Reynolds family empire faces federal investigation." The headline flashed across my TV screen as I sipped my coffee. My phone buzzed. Bob's 20th call of the day. Straight to voicemail, just like his desperate texts. "Please, we can fix this. I should have believed you. Give me another chance." The Reynolds family facade cracked spectacularly. Steve's embezzlement from Uncle Adam's company made the headlines first. Millions stolen, with Sandra helping cover it up through fake charitable donations. "You've ruined us," Sandra shrieked when she cornered me outside my office. "No, you did that yourself," I said, rushing past her. "How's the country club membership holding up?" Next, Lisa's corporate espionage was exposed. She'd been selling company secrets to competitors. The same skills she used to frame me brought her downfall. The irony was delicious. "Miss Miller, my boss called me into his office. Stellar work on exposing the Reynolds scandal. How would you feel about heading our New York office?" The divorce papers arrived the same day as my promotion letter. Bob's signature was shaky, likely because he'd just been forced to resign from his firm. "I never meant for it to go this far," Steve confessed when he came begging for help. "Really?" I said, raising an eyebrow. "Like you never meant to steal millions from your father's company?" "They'll send me to prison," he pleaded. "You should have thought of that before trying to destroy my life." The fallout extended beyond the immediate family. Uncle Adam faced a reckoning when the fraud investigation uncovered decades of tax evasion. The IRS was particularly interested in Sandra's charitable foundation. Lisa texted me in a panic. "They're freezing my accounts. I need help." Delete. Bob tried again. "The firm is filing for bankruptcy. Please talk to me." Delete. Standing in my new Manhattan beachfront condo, I watched the sunset over the city. My Boston house had sold for well above asking price. Meanwhile, the Reynolds family mansion was being seized by authorities. "Congratulations on the corner office," my new assistant said, handing me the day's paper. The headline read, "Reynolds family business empire collapses amid fraud charges." The final text came as I deleted their entire family from my contacts. "We're sorry," it read, signed by all of them. Delete. Success truly is the best revenge. They tried to frame me as a cheater but ended up exposing their own crimes. They thought they could break me, but I broke their empire instead. Now they're facing charges in bankruptcy while I'm thriving. What would you do if your spouse's entire family conspired against you? Would you expose them all at once or take them down one by one like I did? Share your thoughts below.